Slammiversary 2017 in the books, and I want to get this online as fast as possible, so please excuse the probably no graphics or anything right now, but we're going to try to get this review on within about half an hour to 45 minutes of when it was published. I actually was live tweeting tonight during the thing and got a lot of responses, and it was interesting to see what some of the other people thought. I was following other people's Twitters and even found a couple of chat rooms and stuff to be a part of before this show just to see what the other fans' barometer was for this, and at times they disagreed with me, but at times they agreed with me, and that's not surprising because I deal with that all the time in the wrestling world, and coming from maybe a little bit different background growing up and watching 80s wrestling mostly, and still being a big fan of that. But the pay-per-view started with a 4-man tag team matchup. They said they were going to use lucha rules, which I guess meant you could fall out of the ring and someone else could jump in the ring. I actually kind of like that for a 4-person tag match because it makes things happen a little bit easier than always having to make a tag and stuff like that. So I'm guessing that's why they did it, and I think it came out really well. The positives of this match definitely included just great overall wrestling. We had the fans going with the "This is awesome" chant early on, and if you notice, way at the beginning, the fans were dead. And then about 5 minutes in, when the action started picking up in the match, the fans really got into it. And I was even a little worried. I'm like, I hope we're not going to have dead fans the whole time, because you never know with Impact Wrestling. It's like, how many people are there? By selling these extra tickets and the travel packages and the VIP packages and stuff, I thought we would get maybe some really fans who are into it. And I can't think they kind of showed that throughout the night. But then this match actually was a great starter. The only thing I didn't really like about it was I was not as familiar with some of those people as I should be, probably. I guess you had some people from Noah Wrestling in Japan, and I know who Garza Jr. is. I kind of know who the Laredo Kid is. When they said Drago, I was expecting the other Drago, so no, I'm thinking Grotto, I think. So actually, I'm going to give a plug for Grotto right now. I love Grotto, he's awesome. But this was Drago, and then I'm kind of familiar with LAX, but I've only seen them now for a little while, but I know the whole LAX tradition, and they had their faction. I think almost every pre-show that I watched and prediction show had LAX winning this, and no surprise there, and they came out above it, but it was just awesome to see everything happen. And then, at the end of the match, Conan announces that a new member of this is going to be on LAX. Very, very interesting. I'm excited to see LAX be a strong faction in Global or Impact Wrestling, whatever you're going to call this moving forward. I guess it's going to be called Global Force Wrestling. That's what we'll try to refer to it as. Who is this mystery person going to be? Is it going to be someone totally new? Is it going to be someone who's already on the roster? Is it going to be a face turning into, I guess you'd call it a heel? I have a hard time calling LAX heels right now because they're so over, but they definitely act like heels, and with a lot of pretty much cheating and everything else. So that actually, there's a reason to watch the next episode of Impact right there. We're going to get to see who that extra LAX member is. Conan still brings something with the mic every time. You also had Homicide. I'm not sure what Hernandez's situation is this day, but he would, of course, be the other member that I'd love to see come back. But so now you have, I would assume, moving forward, your Global Force Wrestling World Tag Team Champions, LAX. I'm assuming that's what they're just going to be called going forward. And we have a few options maybe for some face tag teams going on against them, but I wouldn't be surprised if they held on them for a while, especially with this new member coming in, and we never know what he's going to be doing. We get to see D'Angelo Williams next. Match 2 of the night. One of the matches I don't want to say I was really looking forward to in the traditional sense of looking forward to it, but one of the matches I was definitely looking forward to in the sense of I want to see what happens here. Other times where I'm remembering football, it goes back, well, you had the early days with Leo Nomalini, but that was a lot different. That was more like real wrestlers trying to make an off season in football because they weren't making enough money. I mean, you can even, if you ever read Lex Luger's book, you can read it. That's how he even started. Was he was football playing, I believe, for the Tampa Bay Bandits of the USFL at the time, and he went over to Florida Championship Wrestling in Tampa, and hey, look what Luger did in his career. Love him or hate him, I mean, Luger had an amazing wrestling career, and it started off with football. And then, of course, you got WrestleMania 2. That was more supposed to be just a gimmick, for want of a better word. You had the Battle Royal. You pretty much knew that the football players weren't going to win. William Perry, hot at the time with the world champion Chicago Bears in Chicago. Jimbo Covert adds it. It made great. William Perry pulling Big John Studd over the top rope. So there's another. And then, of course, you have to go to LT, WrestleMania 11, and you also had the little bit of football going on in the WCW during the Nitro years. Kevin Green, Reggie White, and kind of all because of Steve McMichael also crossing over. McMichael actually became a full-fledged member. So very interesting, because just about 2 weeks ago, I was at well, I might as well just plug it now. Is that they have, if you're in the Minneapolis area, they have a photo show featuring AWA wrestling from the 70s at the Minneapolis Photo Museum. It's just north of downtown Minneapolis. It was really done. My friend Karen Melvin was the photographer that's being featured. Really, really awesome stuff. Go see it at the Minneapolis Photo Museum if you get a chance. But that's where I was talking to Jim Brunzell at the open house there. And Jim Brunzell hates the fact that Lawrence Taylor was in WrestleMania 11. And I talked to him for a while about it, and at first I was thinking, well, maybe he hates it because you're kind of main eventing. You're stealing one of the other wrestlers' main event money, and wanted to protect his fellow wrestlers and didn't want someone to lose a paycheck. But that really wasn't it. The thing that Jim Brunzell had the problem with was you're letting all the fans think that a football player can do what they do. I mean, and he kind of used the example, it's like the NFL would never let Jim Brunzell or any other wrestler come in and just be a part of their football game and even do something wonderful like score a touchdown or something. So Brunzell didn't have as big of a problem with people like maybe at ringside being the manager or even being like the special enforcer or something. It wasn't about the payday. It was about, if you're making the football players seem like they could do wrestling, then you're not giving the wrestlers enough credit for being awesome athletes and for how hard this really is. So that was Brunzell's problem. So off on my little football tangent there, I was really excited to see how they were going to do it with D'Angelo Williams. And so you kind of had your little back and forth early on, and then D'Angelo got into the ring. And then he kind of did the old little amateur style, and of course got that first hip toss in. The crowd goes nuts. You think, okay, they kind of reminded me a lot of Mr. T at WrestleMania 1. I'm like, this is good. They're shielding him. Everything's going to be fine, and it's going to go good. But then all of a sudden you started seeing D'Angelo do stuff. And if you notice, most of the stuff seemed to be with Eli Drake, which I didn't have a problem with. I'm guessing Eli maybe is a little more polished than Adonis. Adonis is more the strength wrestler. It just went so smoothly, but I was very, very impressed with D'Angelo Williams. Got the tag at the end. I'm guessing the table was supposed to break, but he still did it. He was doing those flips. He was doing the double flips with his partner. Everything was just going amazing. The crowd was into it completely, and he looked good. A great, exciting match. The whole time I was just excited watching the match. And then at the end, table doesn't break, but he still doesn't freak out, gets the 1, 2, 3, pins them, and then they come back and put Eli Drake through the table. I think just because I'm guessing the table was supposed to break initially, and it would have been really cool to see the D'Angelo Williams frog splash through the table, but they fixed it well. What a match. One of my favorites of the night. Be interesting to see where D'Angelo Williams goes as a free agent now, or even like the announcers were saying, it's like maybe D'Angelo Williams wants to become a wrestler. I mean, he could definitely hold his own, but I'm guessing he's going to go back to the NFL. But you never know with these concussions things and stuff. Maybe he wanted to see if he could do it. It was definitely a positive. I'm glad they didn't screw it up. I'm glad they were able to do something like that and make it a positive. So with all due respect to Jim Brunzell, who I'm a big fan of, I don't mind this happening because I think it's really entertaining for the fans. And I hope that they continue to do stuff like this if they do it in the right way. Then we go to the strap match, Ethan Carter III versus James Storm. This match was just like everything I expected from the beginning. They just went at each other. It was Ethan Carter III had the handcuffs. I didn't quite understand this part because it seemed like with the strap you could tie someone to the ropes pretty good, but I guess they wanted the full length of the strap so that they could do a whipping. He was going to handcuff James Storm to the top rope. They were all fighting there for a while. You could kind of tell what was going to happen, and all of a sudden Ethan Carter III ends up on the rope. James Storm gives him, I believe, 22 lashes. If the fans of Orlando were counting correctly, I made the comment at Twitter at the time, one of my favorite things in all of wrestling is when the fans start making a count, because I miss the old Bobby Heenan days, and so their fans of Orlando were going 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and I was just waiting for Bobby Heenan to say, that really surprises me, and then Gorilla, what? And it's like, that the fans of Orlando can count to 22, and it's just, I think it was usually Newark that was on the edge of Bobby Heenan's, that was the place that Bobby Heenan thought was the biggest dump was Newark. I don't remember being in Newark recently, but he liked to really give Newark a hard time for some reason. And then Brian Hebner, for some reason, decides he's going to untie or unhandcuff Ethan Carter III. And then Ethan Carter III takes the strap off. So I liked it because he kind of had to cheat in order to get the big advantage. Pulls James Storm into the steel thing. Looks like the tide has just shifted a little bit. Ethan Carter III is going to be on top for a while. We come back into the ring. James Storm actually puts a couple of moves on, and then he goes down hard. They did a really good job, because I really do think that was expected, especially with Ethan Carter III then hitting a full move on him after that. But they really made it look like that wasn't supposed to happen. This was a big surprise thing. They took a long time with the medical staff and everything else like that, and they even were mentioning, this is really serious. You got some Life of TNA people down in the ring just checking on James Storm. Really, really good. So for a match that I wasn't, because you kind of figured Ethan Carter III, because they weren't going to bury Ethan Carter III at this point, but they accomplished everything they needed to accomplish. They made both of them look strong, which then makes it even better that Ethan Carter III wins. You got James Storm with a little bit of revenge from the original whipping that he took from Ethan Carter III, and so he was able to get that. The highest point in the match was probably that point 2, but then you have Ethan Carter III cheating just a little bit, so it wasn't like he had to look weak and cheat, and then he was able to get the win. Now you have James Storm. They have so many places they could go with this. Ethan Carter III is going to continue to look strong. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe they still even had a little bit, but they might have James Storm on the shelf for a while. James Storm, so beloved by the fans as an original TNA member from all the way back to 2003, 2004. So that's going to be perfect for him. They might just put him on the shelf and have Ethan Carter III gloating about it for a little bit. And I just used the wrong word. It would be gloating. I'm sorry. I think I was going to put brag and gloat together, and it came out bloat. So kind of like combining some words there. And yes, I'm tired, and it's been a long day, but I wanted to get this out there for you guys. And so I think Ethan Carter III is going to be the obvious number one contender here very shortly. He's going to get to face El Patron. I thought, honestly, and this isn't anything that a lot of other people haven't thought as well, but we thought Ethan Carter III was going to be the one to get to face Lashley and then probably win the title then here, because it just seemed right. Not face Lashley, but face Lashley and then win the title, but that would have kind of been two heels going. And so now you have Patron winning, which is, we'll get to that at the end, and that's kind of the reason we think Patron won too, was because, Ethan Carter III is going to be the number one contender here in the next few weeks, and Ethan Carter III, Patron, looking forward to that greatly. So then we have another, there were a lot of stuff that happened backstage, and some of it even during the matches, but one of the weird ones was when you have Karen Jarrett coming up to Dutch Mantel, and it's like, where's Bruce Pritchard? And Dutch is like, well, I'm trying to get a hold of him myself. That's exactly. I like Dutch is like, this is a pay-per-view. Everyone's supposed to be at the pay-per-view. Why would you miss a pay-per-view? And so it was just, Dutch Mantell is awesome. But then I've always been a big Bruce Pritchard fan too, so I'm excited that something's hopefully going to happen here with Bruce Pritchard, Dutch Mantell. Is Bruce Pritchard going to be mad about this Global Force thing? Who knows? Anything that's going to happen, storyline here. You got Dutch Mantell, Karen Jarrett, Bruce Pritchard. I'm excited. It's got me wondering. It's got me wondering what is going to happen with the storyline. I mean, hopefully it doesn't turn out to be really bad, but if it turns out to be anything, I mean, I'm intrigued, and another reason that I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks of, I guess I'll call it Global Force Wrestling again, and so we're doing that. Another match that's just like, okay, think I'm excited about it just because I want to see what happens. I'm not quite sure what to expect. Scott Steiner and Josh Matthews against Joseph Park and Jeremy Borash. You kind of knew Abyss was going to happen at some point, or possibly just Janice, but I was pretty sure it was going to be Abyss. So we heard earlier in the night it was going to be a no DQ tag team match, which even gave us more reason for that to happen. And so you have Josh Matthews actually starting the match, and first he goes against Joseph Park, and he actually even wins a little bit there. Borash comes in, Steiner comes in, Borash exits immediately. Joseph Park and Steiner go, and they just kind of go in them in. And then all of a sudden they decide, we're going to get out of here and start running. And I'm like, okay, this match is going to go to the back. I thought we were going to see a brawl in the back or something weird happen. Then match maybe somehow with the formation of Abyss. But no, it completely went crazy from that point, and I don't even know if I can remember everything that happened, but they first started chasing. Park and Borash are running, and they run right past these golf carts, and then so Steiner, I guess the smart one of all the groups, says, hey, let's get in this car. Maybe it's just because he's old and he didn't want to have to run, but he's the one who comes up with the golf cart idea. And before I go anything else, I'm a huge Scott Steiner fan as a person. I met him at the Hall of Fame show a few years ago, and more of a gentleman he could not be. Very, very, very nice guy, and I really appreciate him. So I'm a huge Scott Steiner fan for that way. I've always was a fan of his wrestling too, but when I've heard some stories about Steiner, some people I don't think appreciate him as much as I do, but so I'm a Steiner fan in that way. So this was hilarious for me and just wonderful when he stopped at the golf cart and was like, oh, let's stay. So then you kind of had all the camera special effects things going, and they're chasing them with the golf cart, and they're running in slow motion, and you're just like, if they're in a golf cart, they should be able to catch them. And so then the next thing you know is they're out by a pool. Well, actually, no, they get hit with the fire extinguishers first, which was actually a nice turn. You needed Borash and Park to come up with a way that they kind of got on the offense. So you hit him with the fire extinguisher. And Steiner's reaction to the fire extinguishers was hilarious as well. He's just kind of blowing it out of his mouth and nose, and he just couldn't believe it. And so very good fire extinguisher shot too. Very good job by Steiner selling it. Get out to the pool area. Josh Matthews is chasing Borash. Borash gives him a backdrop into the pool. I'm definitely assuming some stunt people there. Because then we have like a cross body into the pool and everything, and I'm just like, okay, this is getting way out of hand. You had the slow-mo. Actually, it wasn't I don't believe it was a cross body. It was more of a flip, like the flip with, and then you kick him with the feet. I don't even know what that move's called, but it's definitely stunt people at this point. You have them fighting at the bottom of the pool, holding each other under. Couldn't even tell really who was on top at that point, but things were just kind of getting crazy. But then you kind of saw the ominous thing. I'm just like, what? And also it's Shark Boy, and who better than Shark Boy? I'm guessing. I know there's some of your newer watchers of Global Force Impact might not remember all the good years with Shark Boy, but if you have any kind of wrestling history, you know how much Shark Boy was a part of TNA Wrestling. That was already, I mean, his prime was like 10 to 12 years ago. He's made some sporadic appearances as a special guest since then, but that was really what it was, 10 to 12 years ago. with Shark Boy. So who better in the water than Shark Boy and doing his thing? And oh man, it just, yeah, this is where you lost wrestling. This was the entertainment part of the wrestling show. Definitely not wrestling, but in a match like this, what were we expecting? I guess I was actually expecting a little more wrestling, but I found myself intrigued and not minding this. It was funny. I was laughing through most of it, and it was entertaining to me. So Shark Boy comes, and anytime you can do a throwback to Shark Boy, you could have. And there was a chat room going on at this time, and people were just going nuts over Shark Boy. So yes, it was resonating well with the fans. You kind of have Borash going back to the ring then, and I guess this was to give Park time to transform to Abyss. I believe we saw the James Mitchell foreshadow right about that time too, and then it's like we're bringing back all these old members of TNA, and now it's all of a sudden this James Mitchell, great member of TNA, and one of Abyss's old manager. I believe when Abyss was a heel. I don't think James Mitchell ever was Abyss when he was a face, because that was even more, he became with Hogan and stuff like that. But gotta love James Mitchell. The chat room once again going nuts for the James Mitchell sighting. Slammiversary, what a better time to pay homage to some of your greats who made you a company 10 years ago. So you have Borash out in the ring, both people with Borash. He actually was taking I loved it because they wrote it well, they were calling it well. They had Borash taking the charge of Josh Matthews, but then he just could not overcome the 2-on-1 as Steiner hit him from behind. Taking turns with Steiner recliners and everything else like that. It looks like Borash is dead. The announcer's selling it well, but you kind of know something's going to happen. And then I love the way they did this. The Abyss's music hits. James Mitchell comes out to the ramp. You're just expecting Abyss to come behind him. Both of the wrestlers look that way. Abyss is in the ring on the other side. Starts taking control. Brings out the thumbtacks. And Josh Matthews goes into the thumbtacks. I think every wrestling fan who's listened to Josh Matthews is like, yes, we wanted to see Josh Matthews go into the thumbtacks. He did. It was awesome. Jeremy Borash with a kind of the thing like a frog splash off the top rope. It was cool because he even got some tacks in his, took one for the team. And Park and Borash, or in this case, Abyss and Borash, are the winners. I thought it was funny because they let Abyss make the pin, and he wasn't even in the match, unless you're going to call him Park, which I guess at this point they can do. So, I don't know. I could not have expected anything more from this. This wasn't a 10 by any means, but it was entertaining. Homage to Shark Boy, homage to James Mitchell, both great parts of TNA. They did everything well. They made it a little goofy. They didn't have Jeremy Borash beating Scott Steiner or something either. Yeah, it worked good. And actually, and they didn't even make Steiner look weak. And so, yeah, good job. It was just good writing all along. And the people in the chat rooms that I was following seemed really into this match. How about you guys? Leave your comments below if you have something different, and how much do you guys like Shark Boy? Is he going to be back, or I think it was just a one-time thing, but you got to always love Shark Boy. He's got his little Steve Austin impressions too, and oh yeah, it was just, so at this point, I am into this pay-per-view. I mean, it's like, wow, I have been entertained this whole time, and for different reasons. They're giving you the different kinds of matches, and so it was just, you had to keep watching to see what was happening, because nothing was like anything else. The next one, you go with the Wolves split up, and Davey Richards and Angelina Love against Eddie Edwards and Alicia Edwards. Mixed tag match. I don't really know what to say about this, but it was just kind of... This wasn't a match I wasn't really looking forward to. I didn't mind it. I mean, I think I was still kind of recovering from seeing Shark Boy and James Mitchell. I like both. I like the Wolves, or what they call the American Wolves. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. And then they split up before. I mean, I guess they were in ROH for a while, and then they came to TNA. I thought they could have lasted in TNA a little more, and you definitely need some. You could really use a good face tag team right now, and so I'm a little worried about that. And it'd be nice if, but I mean, they're obviously not ready to do that yet. But the match, it was just I liked what all them they were doing. I mean, you had all sorts of things going on, and you have another table getting broken, so it's kind of turning into a tables, ladders, and chairs pay-per-view. Eddie Edwards gets the win for his team, and you had to expect that. Hopefully this feud's over now, and maybe we can see both of them go on to something different. Then you go to an X Division match, 2 out of 3 falls. Sanjay Dutt, your champion, versus Loki. I don't remember when they told us it was 2 out of 3 matches. That surprised me tonight. I don't follow it as much as probably some of you do, but they might just announce that tonight too, or maybe it was on Twitter, one of their pre-things or something, but I didn't mind that. I kind of saw what was going to happen, especially after the first fall with Loki winning. You kind of knew Sanjay Dutt was going to end up winning. I thought it would look really bad if they had Sanjay Dutt win in India and then just give it right back to Loki. I don't think Sanjay Dutt's going to be your X Division champion for long. I think so. They must have another heel that they're maybe planning on getting it to somehow. But for now, he's just a placeholder. And Low-Key was doing well for a while, so he could just now, maybe you can have him do something else, and I think they're going to go someplace else with this. Good match, they both do well. Sanjay Dutt was a big part of Global Force Wrestling, so he might be getting rewarded by Jared now for being loyal and over in his Global Force. Some of the other people in Global Force, Adonis, or as you might know him, Chris Masters, Adonis did a lot with Global Force. I know that Kevin Matthews guy was a big part of Global Force and doing that, and trying to think if there's anyone else who has been in the Impact shows lately that came over from Global Force as they've been kind of merging. Magnus was a big part of Global Force. I haven't seen him in a while right now. Not sure exactly what he's doing, except for being a father and being married to Mickie James. Mickie James is over in WWE, so that might be part of it then as well. And so who knows what's going to happen. I like low-key matches. They did good wrestling matches again. I just wasn't that excited about this match because you kind of saw Sanjay Dutt going to win, and it just seems like it's been kind of happening now for a while. So, time to move on with the X Division. Hopefully we can do some more of those Ultimate X matches and stuff like that. I think Sanjay could hold his own in those, and maybe we could go from there then. Then you have your knockouts. When we saw Robert Irvine earlier, I was like, okay, Gail Kim must have something. I thought we were going to maybe get something kind of surprising with Gail Kim, but instead I guess she was kind of planning on being there as the ambassador for the women, and they were putting her over greatly. And I mean, and she deserves to be by far. She was such an important part of their knockouts division, and definitely, and I even kind of agree with them. Was Gail Kim was really the first women's. I mean, it's a shame that I don't think she's on the best terms with WWE right now because of the way she left last time, but she would be part of this women's revolution and one of the greatest women wrestlers of all time. I think she's been in it now for probably close to 20 years, and maybe it's time that she's just kind of, married to Robert Irvine, and maybe she's just kind of enjoys just being in the background, and we might not see too much more of her, unfortunately, but that was cool to see her at Slammiversary 15, such a part of the big thing. The women's match, you kind of saw this one. Another one was that most of the prediction shows that I watched had Sienna winning. You kind of saw her on a big streak. Rosemary, nothing wrong with her, but just Sienna was the one that was building all the momentum, and Rosemary's just kind of been the champion for a while. So you have Sienna, you have her using the mist against her, and then rubbing it in her eyes and getting the pin. Yeah, so you had a little bit with Allie going on and Laura Van Ness causing a little bit of a distraction, so it wasn't 100% clean, but at the same time, clean enough that it didn't look like it was totally like Sienna didn't look weak in beating her. So good job in that aspect. Jeff Jarrett comes out, just says thank you to everybody. Man, I remember going to Global Force Live, and he came out and did that. And I like Jeff Jarrett a lot, but it was just kind of, yeah, we don't need him to come out and thank us, but it was a good transition. We got the main event coming up, and that was fine. Alberto El Patron versus Bobby Lashley. Wow, yes, I loved this match. They did it well, back and forth. You had Dos Caras and somebody else in the corner, and one of the other, I think it was the brother of, but it wasn't Mil Mascaras, so it was another luchador of some kind, probably a legend. And then you had King Mo in Lashley's corner, which was kind of fun, a fun tease. Lashley teased about the surprise in his corner. He even put out the invite to Donald Trump. And I'm not going to get into politics on the show at all, but you had Donald Trump then doing the wrestling meme today with the CNN thing, and so it was kind of been, yeah, wrestling's in the mainstream in America right now. Kind of funny. So you have a lot of use of both people, which I like, because it's so annoying when people bring these special guests, especially people you want to see, like Dos Caras or King Mo, and then it's like they don't do anything the whole night. Oh, he was in the corner, but that was all they did. They actually, both of the people got physical with the wrestlers, and Lashley's always was the ones that seemed heel, and Dos Caras always protecting his son, and it did well. The only thing I didn't like about this match was the ending. I didn't think that came across great. You had Lashley chasing Dos Caras, and you can see the time. You're like, well, this is going to set up the end, and you don't want Lashley to lose 100% clean, but he's the heel, so you're not going to have huge cheating, but he's going to come over and chase Dos Caras. I believe that was after a low blow hit on King Mo. Chasing Dos Caras, chases him again up the ramp. That's his distraction. Patron takes advantage with a sidekick, and Lashley falls right between the ropes into his finishing move. Lashley, that's strong, and yet sets himself up perfect. No, it didn't. I did not like the finish. That's the only thing I can say. I thought it was a great match beyond that, so I was a little disappointed in the finish, and that is the end of the night then. But at the same time, great match, and overall it was good. So that was Slammiversary 15. 15 years in the making. Man, I remember I watched some of the original pay-per-views back in like 2002, 2003. I believe the regular pay-per-view started coming out in 2005. Oh, I can picture, I almost want to say Turning Point 2005 was the first pay-per-view, but I think that might have been the second pay-per-view. I'd have to go back and look at my DVDs, and I could look it up online right now, but hey, why do that? I've seen a lot of TNA pay-per-views over the years, and we even saw through the Bischoff-Hogan years there in the middle when you had all those old school legends kind of coming in for a while, and then kind of back. But I think they could be very happy with this pay-per-view. The chat rooms I was in, I was seeing a lot of 6 and 7 out of 10s. I think I might have even been a little higher on it, because it depends on what you're comparing it to. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10 overall, because for the most part I was really into all the matches. The only match I really wasn't into maybe was the mixed tag with the Wolves and then their wives, Angelina Love and Edwards' wife. Yeah, and then a great match. I mean, one of the other things is like, I want to watch Impact this week. I want to see what's going on. I want to see who this other member of LAX is. Hey, if you have a guess who the other member of LAX is, put it down below. We can give spoilers out, especially down below. If you don't want to know who it is, don't look down below. Put your guess down below. Who's this other member of LAX going to be? And is Ethan Carter the third going to be? What did you think of Slammiversary? Give it a number. Do everything else. We were live tweeting during much of the show. We were getting some good responses for that. So, yeah, follow us, subscribe, and follow us on Twitter, Wrestling UNAB. That's like Unabridged, but Wrestling UNAB is our Twitter handle, as we've been doing that. This week, we got the channel back up and going again. I hope there's a lot of good content for you to see. We have a lot more to upload, and sometimes it just takes like an hour and a half, 2 hours to upload things if they have a lot of stuff in them, and so I try to get 1 or 2 things on a day if I can. and just so you give you guys more to watch. But we're also taking questions and answers. People said, hey, now that you've kind of been up and going for a while, we want to know more about you. So they've been sending questions. You can send questions to wrestlingunabridged@gmail.com. That's wrestlingunabridged@gmail.com. Send questions. If you put a comment down, I don't have a specific question and answer one, but put a comment on any of my things and just say, hey, here's a question for the question and answer show. And also, otherwise, you can tweet them to us at the Wrestling UNAB Twitter handle or Facebook. We have the Wrestling Unabridged Facebook page. We don't do a lot on that, but we will take questions on that, and we also just keep people updated. We have a lot of Facebook followers, especially international Facebook followers, and I thank you all from around the world. And so we keep people updated on when these new YouTube shows come out and stuff like that. So we're going to do a question and answer, or hopefully early this week with July 4th. I got a little family time to spend too, but looking forward to do a question and answer. Pretty much just pulling a lot of basic questions like, who's your favorite wrestler ever? Who's your favorite wrestler now? What do you think of Global Force TNA Wrestling? What do you think of ROH? It's like, who's your favorite tag team now? It's like, who's overrated? Who's underrated? Just a lot of questions like that we've been getting, and I love to answer those. If you want to ask something a little bit more, like I said, I pretty much stay away from anything controversial. No politics, no religion. We don't need that on this channel. We need wrestling on this channel. But you can ask a controversial wrestling question, and who knows, I might answer it. And we also just please keep things clean. This is a clean wrestling channel. We don't need sexual jokes or swearing or anything like else on this channel. We want this to be a family-friendly channel. That's just who I am, and so we'll keep it going like that. So we look forward to that this week. We're going to upload a lot more stuff, and we're going to keep watching the show. One thing I'll recommend if you're kind of watching this for the first time and you're a big fan of something, I just uploaded a really, really good match from Global Force Wrestling between Arian Daivari, not Sean, but Arian, who's now in the 205 Live, Arian Daivari and Colt Cabana. It's from Global Force Wrestling. I have a few more Global Force clips that I would like to get uploaded as well now too, and we're going to keep uploading stuff like that. But check out that channel, subscribe please, and leave comments. Tell me what you want more of, do it in a nice way, but tell me what you don't like. And we are really happy. I love wrestling, like probably most of you, if you're listening to this whole thing, as we are. How many minutes are we into this now? About almost 37 minutes into this. So yeah, if you've listened to this whole thing, you must be a true wrestling fan as well. So yeah, I want to make this channel for you guys, and I love listening to other people's channels as to hear what they want and what they follow. And so I hope I gave you an idea of what we have. Tons of other interviews and stuff on the channel, but subscribe, like, comment, do everything that makes my page more popular. And if you have a page, then I will try to find you too and watch your stuff and like and follow, comment, and stuff like that. Hey, and as a wrestling community, we can all work together. Slammiversary 2017 in the books. I was excited that I was able to watch it. It was definitely worth my time. I'm excited with this new Global Force. I'm excited with where TNA Impact's now Global Force has gone in the last 3 to 6 months with this buyout and everything else like that. As much as I like Billy Corgan, I'm excited for their future. I think Billy Corgan's maybe healed with the NWA and will get even more wrestling for all of us. But I am looking forward to Impact this week. If all goes well, we will have an Impact show, review show much like this at the end of Impact on Thursday night, and we can keep going like this. And also send those questions in and follow us on Twitter, Wrestling UNAB, the Facebook page, Wrestling Unabridged, and otherwise wrestlingunabridged@gmail.com for email. Thanks for listening, and as a tribute to Gordon Soley, one more thing I want to bring up Gordon Soley's name is, didn't you guys love the announcers tonight? I mean, I know it's not going to happen because they even said at the end of the night, it's like, well, you're going to get JB and Josh Matthews back on Thursday. It's like, why can't we have these two guys announcing? They did an awesome job. I do not know his name. Yes, I do know his name. Robert Flores was the other announcer. He does Major League Baseball channel, I think some hockey. Good job, Robert Flores. Hey, if you're listening, Robert, good job as your first You did exactly what you were supposed to do. You put the wrestlers over. You were interesting. You kept us interested in the match. You were just part of the show. It was never about you, and you did good. Don West I've heard him before. He's always entertaining, but they worked so well together as a team. So, yes, I think that's part of the reason that I think that probably added a whole half a point to a point of the whole show. Just having such good announcers. I like JB as a person. So I hate to put him down, but I mean, the announcing has not been the best the last couple of months, and these two tonight hit it out of the park. Don't you guys agree with me on that? So, yeah, but as tribute to Gordon Soley, so long,